Hello, 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 ladies. This podcast is designed exclusively for you. This is Her Talk Show, where we dive into inspiring thoughts, ideas, and stories, all with one purpose: to empower and uplift women like yourself. I'm Sabrina Victoria, your host and guide on this journey of self-discovery and growth. I invite you to hit that subscribe button. Follow, like, and share. Together, we are creating a vibrant community of empowered women. Get ready to unleash your brilliance. Her Talk Show starts now.
We come to you every day with the best speakers, relationship coaches, spiritual mentors, trailblazers, business owners, authors, young hustlers, podcasters, entrepreneurs, fitness trainers, therapists, financial advisors, and more. We ask our guests one question: what do you know that I don't know? Get ready, because today's guest is about to change the way you view your world. This is Her Talk Show, hosted by Sabrina Victoria.
Joining us today for this episode of Her Talk Show, we have had over 500 women grace this stage, and we are adding another one to the list today. If you're listening live, welcome. And if you're listening on the replay, make sure you hashtag replay wherever you are so we can send you some love in the comments. Either way, if you are watching us, please share this video so we can get more eyes and more ears on the awesome content that we are about to share today. Today, we're talking to an amazing woman, Melissa Myers, CFP. She is a heart-centered female financial planner, #1 best-selling author, speaker, owner of multiple financial service businesses, and she is going rogue. Conventional wisdom about personal finance has a place, yet it isn't always the place to start or end. Melissa's unique approach to building and preserving wealth starts with a mindset and ends with life-changing impact. Super excited to have Melissa here today. Welcome, lady.
Thanks, Sabrina.
How are you?
Good. I've been looking forward to this.
Yes, I so appreciate you being here. I know you're super busy and it's the weekend, and you are here to inspire, uplift, and teach us in all the things. And I love this subject. I think this is a subject that's not talked enough about within the female culture.
Oh, money is considered taboo. And with money comes a whole host of emotions, negative emotions about, from anxiety and depression and fear of being judged to shame and guilt. And I want to break that mold and throw that taboo money mold out.
Yeah. So my life was very interesting because I did over 15 years in straight commission, door-to-door sales, male-dominated arena. So the majority of my career was men speaking out loud about their money, how much money they're making, what commissions they're making. There'd be checks stapled to the walls of how much money everyone was making. And then I made this pivot into entrepreneurship and helping women in entrepreneurship. And all of a sudden it's this
Right. We need to shake that up.
So how did you get into this? Tell us your story. How did you start talking about money?
Well, it's a little bit of an unconventional journey because my degree is in biology.
Whoa.
Save the world. I wanted to make an impact. So junior, senior year of college, I started to think, maybe this isn't for me, but my mom encouraged me to just get the degree. Yeah. Get the degree, honey. They can't take it away from you.
Yeah.
Didn't say is it will open doors, but that's exactly what it did. So having a 4-year degree allowed me to interview for a financial advisor position back in 2000. And here I am 23 years later. I learned a whole bunch of things along the way. And those things that I learned, I'm able to deliver and help enhance the lives of my clients that I work with directly, as well as everybody listening in venues like this or reading the book.
Wow. So did you know what you were getting into when you applied for that position? Did you have any idea what was going on? Or are you just kind of floating around just out of college, just trying to get in somewhere?
I was about 5 years out of college at that point, and one of my friends was interviewing at a competitor firm. And I said, well, what are you doing? What's it all about? And she told me, and I go, oh, well, I can do that. I had all this confidence in areas I knew nothing about. What I didn't know is how to market myself. I didn't have confidence in myself because at the point where I started and until about the first 5 years, really, I was struggling to make ends meet. And so I was always trying to, get the clients. I got straight A's in high school. I performed well in college. So going into corporate America and having sales goals put on me, it was like, I really internalized it because I knew I could do it. I could do anything, although, up to that point in my life, I had already accomplished a lot of things, but I couldn't hit these numbers. And it was really humbling because I was trying to get people to trust me with millions of dollars, but I didn't know personal finance. And so thankfully, I'm a good student. I could take the test and become licensed and get the credentials to have access to help people with their money, which I could. I knew how to make recommendations on investments and insurance. What I identified is that there is a huge gap in financial services. Traditionally, the large firms, the idea is get your licenses, go out and sell stuff. And what I've realized over the course of time is that, like me, a lot of people, whether they have wealth to be managed or they don't have wealth and they want to get to a point where they do because it represents security to them when they feel like they have wealth, or for women, at least the cash flow represents security. So if there's not a good foundation mindset wise, if there's not a good foundation in terms of confidence and purpose, it doesn't matter how much money you have in the bank and in the investment portfolio, because women who are wealthy, they struggle, they feel guilty or ashamed, or they don't want anybody to know because they're struggling with fears of being judged with their money. And so that's, again, where I like to say, let's go rogue, let's throw it out the window, let's have community, let's all talk about this. And because I've been there, I have no judgment whatsoever. Yeah, I can see patterns that I could help people with, whether they're wealthy or not. But the idea is that we can have a place to come together to share our struggles, but then also celebrate our successes. And I'm an open book, and this is where I'm probably a little bit different than a lot of advisors. I will openly share my personal finances with anybody who wants to know. Because think about this. If you're going to somebody and you're telling them your whole life story, including sometimes you get into conversations about your health. So like as a financial advisor planner, we know so much about our clients. Very rarely will anybody ask me about my personal finances, but isn't my financial journey something to help lend to the credibility, the expertise, experience that I could help somebody else with? So you can ask me anything.
That's awesome. Wow. When did you decide to start doing that? Because that is unconventional.
I would say it's been in the last 5 years because it's part of my money message, my motivation, my purpose. In our industry, so many times, like the low hanging fruit for getting new clients is to go after high net worth. Well, it takes a long time to go after high net worth. And, I always say I want to help people with wealth. Like I am now, I have wealth. I want to help people who were me 20 years ago. So we don't have minimum account. I mean, there's like a structural little element to that, but we don't say you have to have $1 million to work with us. But we do have different ways to help prepare you to have a 7-figure plus net worth. And it starts with the foundation. So we can meet clients wherever they're at to help them get the base and figure out what they're struggling with. And sometimes people don't know that they're even struggling with things. So we have ways to look beneath the hood to help them get clarity on where they stand. So it's in terms of me knowing that it's okay to put it out there because anybody else's opinion of me, it's not my business. I have to be true to myself and operate from a perspective of knowing that I acted with integrity for the right reasons, and that I just, like, at the end of the day, I just want to know I helped people.
Yeah.
I want to get what they want in life, even if it's an introduction to somebody else. It doesn't have to be they become our client.
Yeah. Totally agree with that. I work my business very similar. You said money message. What does this mean? Money message.
Money represents security to a lot of women.
Okay.
In interviews working with clients, when I ask them what money means, they say security. And it's very interesting if you compare what money means to men. A lot of times it's like success. None of the women I talk to ever said success.
Wow.
And typically women, if they had a choice of having a big nest egg or having reliable, consistent income that supports their lifestyle, that's what they typically would default to if they had to choose one or the other. Sufficient income to live my lifestyle. Nobody wants to be a burden. Nobody wants to lose their independence. They want freedoms. They want to be able to give back. They want to be able to see the world and travel. And so it often becomes a matter of having sufficient income versus having the nest egg. Now, the nest egg, we have ways to help them get the income going.
Yeah.
But it's really comfort and it's emotion. So many times, you know, we feel like maybe personal finance, numbers, investments, it's all quantitative. But 90%, and I'm taking this from a 2002 Nobel Peace Prize study, 90% of our financial decisions are not logic. 90% of our financial decisions are rooted in emotion.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And here's, I'll toot my own horn, not really my own horn, but my husband's involved as well. So a lot of times people will say, why did you pay off your house? Why didn't you put the money in the market? You can make way more money in the market. And that might be true, but it's not true at all times. And having a paid for house, it puts a different level of on a person.
Yeah, lighter.
Yep. And it doesn't matter what the market's doing. I don't care.
Yeah.
I have an asset, but I also know I don't have to worry about what's going on anybody else's. I took a step to be able to put us in a position where now he takes time off. He takes a half day off. He works 6 days a week, but he takes a half a day off. Yeah. But he had that comfort level to know that it was okay. He had to give himself permission. And that was one of the ways that we did it as a team.
Yeah. I can totally feel that. I've never owned a home by myself. However, there was a time period where I lived on my own in my late 30s. And when I was renting, I paid my rent in full. And just knowing that I wouldn't have to worry for like a whole year of like anything regarding my housing really helped me mentally be able to work. You know, I'm an entrepreneur, so work my business as an entrepreneur fully and, you know, like 100% in without this weight of big chunks of money being exited out of my account, you know, every single month, and any sort of rush or frustration that could possibly happen.
Yeah. You could count on what mattered for you at that point in your time because you had the security and the peace of mind of knowing that expense.
Yeah.
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 And I'll bet that you accomplished some good, really great things during that time when your rent was paid. And and that's the neat thing. Like once we get our finances in order, it frees us up to be able to concentrate on giving back.
Yeah.
Paying attention of just being grateful to see the birds out the window and go, oh, that's cool. You know, like just little nuggets of goodness throughout our day and throughout our life when we don't have the stress of financial crises or even just annoyances.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in hearing your viewpoint on this thing that you're talking about as far as the nest egg versus living a lifestyle that's like comfortable where you can do all of your things. I myself, I mean, my story is very insane, as my listeners know, and a lot of money lack in my story. So, as it is now with my finances and the amount of money that I'm making, I purposely live way below my means in order to preserve money in a nice nest egg, as you're saying, so that I can invest or I can, have something for when I am retired. I have a couple of different things going on right now. But what's your viewpoint on that? What should be a like healthy balance, not a trauma-based balance, but what's like a healthy balance that women should look to start creating for themselves as far as living their life, but then also putting something away? What's your thoughts on that?
It's different from person to person. I don't think has the exact same need for the same formula. It depends on what your income sources are. And when you invest in yourself, what other additional income or how you can transition from one or to multiple or multiple even to one income source. I tend to teach people, because traditional financial advice would say, if you want to get your finances in order, start with a budget. I don't believe that. In my book, we don't even start talking about money until chapter 4, part 2, because the first is building the foundation of what's important to you. I've had women who, to them, the most important thing was to be available for their grandchildren. So when they had their baseline of where they stand with their money and they know what's important, and then they realize that they don't have to work, they've been able to quit their jobs. Because their grandkids were most important, not the money.
Yeah.
And so what I teach is to analyze your lifestyle rather than create a budget. So what's your lifestyle cost? And so many times people in the past have come to me and said, hey, I want to retire next year. Can I afford to do so? And then I'll ask the question back, well, how much money do you need? Well, I don't know. And so a lot of times it becomes, especially like today with subscriptions and anything that can be automatically drafted out of our accounts, we kind of lose touch a little bit with how much money we do need to afford our lifestyle. And oftentimes the lifestyle, we forget about our biggest expense, which is taxes.
Yes.
So what I do is I suggest that people look in arrears. They look backwards at how they've spent money over time to start evaluating. And that exercise alone is worth thousands, because that's where you find out, oh yeah, I've been meaning to cancel cable and cut the cord, or I've got the subscription to the gym. That happens all the time. Nobody keeps going to the gym, but they keep paying for it. So that's, that's a place where money is running off. So once you get clear on the expenses that you have right now, how you can maybe redirect that money that was going out, you can invest it towards, or redirect it towards an investment, or you can redirect it to something you've been wanting to do. Maybe it is wanting to join the gym. So what I like to do is pick various categories where you're going to have an expense because you want to spend money on something in the future. Travel, that comes up all the time for my clients. And so I employ a sunny day fund approach, making it the negative rainy day fund, making that a positive. And for example, helping, and sometimes it's just hard to get a basis, or we think, oh my gosh, I don't need that much of a vacation. So that's when that inner critic starts sabotaging us, telling us we don't need that $10,000 vacation, or that we're not worth it, or that's too much, or what is somebody else going to think? So it just depends on going back to knowing yourself and what is right for you. So if you want to take a $10,000 vacation, start putting $833 a month into a savings account. And in a year, you'll have 10 grand. And you can take the vacation that you want without guilt. And also sometimes, like the workaholics, We don't want to leave because we want to keep working because we feel like we need to make more money or whatever is the fulfillment out of work. And it gives us permission to take the vacation we need to sharpen our saw, rest, rejuvenate, relax, spend time with either ourselves or our family and friends. So sunny funds, that would be like the number one thing that I would say can set you up on the personal financial platform in a really strong way. So what else could come up? Vacation's obviously a want. So are our needs taken care of? Do we have enough money that if we had a health crisis, could we pay our maximum out-of-pocket medical expense? And a lot of times people will say, well, that's a lot of money. Yeah, it is. So prepared. Let's get you prepared. So let's start putting money into an HSA or a savings account to have that money. And what's really neat is a lot of banks now will let you nickname your accounts. So whenever you log into your online banking, you can see all the various account names, the dollars, and let's use the technology we've been given. Set up systematic transfers. So you don't even have to think about it. It just happens automatically. And then when you look at it a couple months later, a year later, you have that money when you need it. Even in the face of a crisis, you've got the money. You don't have to have stress.
Yeah, definitely. I know that, even just that, speaking of medical bills, I right at the cusp of 2020, October 2020, I was just going for a walk with the family, right? We're at home bored, we're out walking, and I trip on the sidewalk and literally my leg like broke in half. Ambulance, all the things. But because of that nest egg that I'm talking to you about, my entire business went bust at the beginning of March. I was doing all in person for all of my coaching and everything. And literally like mid-March, I went from making my consistent money to zero. Every single one of my clients called me and wanted to cut ties. I had to give them, money that was already prepaid, because they prepaid months in advance, had to be, calculated and given back. And then I break my leg. So I thought I was sitting pretty. I'm like, oh, no problem. I got a nest egg. We're good. I'm like rebuilding, figuring out online stuff and Zoom and all of that. And I'm like on a, relearning how to business just like everybody else in the whole world. And then I break my leg. And luckily I had money. But I was laid up for months and out of pocket, for all of that. And then I had to have a second surgery that was not covered under insurance.
Oh, wow.
So tens of thousands of dollars just for going on a walk. So that kind of stuff can put you under so quickly.
Right. And a lot of times bad things happen in groups. So, you could be, without income, having a health crisis, and it happens with the house.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily advocate having a big emergency fund. I recommend having lots of smaller sunny day funds.
Yeah.
So prepared for those times that unexpectedly come up, as well as the ones that you want to come up, like a vacation. And what that does is it really reduces your need for an emergency fund.
Yeah.
And you can, whatever your comfort level is, if you have money systematically going into those funds and building them up over time, you don't necessarily need to have just 3 to 6 months worth of expenses, because a lot of people will find that kind of advice overwhelming if they're in that building their wealth period of time. But even if the people who have wealth now and they have a big savings account, sometimes it paralyzes them from being able to use that money, because they like to see that amount there. I hear that all the time. Well, I don't want to use it. I like seeing that balance in my savings or my checking or whatever. And so when you can divvy it up and give each pot of money a name, it makes it less emotional about using the money for what it was designed to do, because money is just a tool. It doesn't have any power over us. It's just a tool, and we are in charge. We get to decide how we're going to use it. And I know that every listener here, they might say they're bad with money. No, they're maybe needing some help and coaching with their decisions in life and what they're identifying their priorities, because we can all do math. We can add and subtract. That's all we're talking about. And being able to take what we have as our income and subtract a piece out of our main checking and put it into that sunny day fund. That's easy. Then it adds up over there.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you for saying that, as far as they just need a little bit of coaching, because I think that's so true.
We all need coaching.
Yeah. It's not that you're bad. It's just you didn't learn a better way of doing it.
Yeah. And as things develop in life, you had to pivot at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
You had to get your mind around that and make a change, and then get through your broken bones and multiple surgeries. And sometimes we just need somebody to tell us it's not bad, or tell us when to get a new tube.
Yeah. And speaking of that, I'm glad you're bringing that up, because I know that you talk about that a lot, as far as being prepared before you need to be prepared.
Yeah.
And how important that is. And I think that story kind of goes along with, you bringing that up again, is you never know.
No, and that's it, like being prepared for a crisis. Like we just kind of covered that, but I'm getting ready to have a keynote talk here in a couple weeks. And it made me I always like to take a time of reflection and think back around my life, like different events, the good, the bad. And it made me remember that when I took initiative and I just did the job, I applied for this job for a promotion, because my manager had left. He just said, go apply for this job. You need it, or you deserve it. So I did. I went and I applied, and it was crickets. I didn't hear anything from senior management, but nobody else was stepping up and doing what needed to be done. So I just decided I would do it. So for about 3 months, I did his job, and nobody said anything.
Wow.
Lo and behold, at the end of 3 months, because we were paid quarterly, at the end of 3 months, my check was humongous compared to what it normally would have been.
Wow.
So they were watching.
Yes.
In order for me to do the job, I was kind of on the job training, preparing, doing what needed to be done. I saw there was opportunity, and I got paid, and I got the promotion.
Wow, that's fantastic.
I always tell my son that too. I'm like, honey, look around. If you have an idea and you see something that could be improved upon, have initiative. Either do it or bring it up to your boss. There's opportunities. And we have to, that's just a confidence. We have to start having confidence that we can do the job. And what we don't know, life's all about learning. One of my favorite hashtags is always be learning.
Mm.
And that is that preparation for the next step of things we can't even, I can't believe that I'm here talking with you today. And it's funny because you and I were introduced. Yeah. You weren't in my world. I wasn't in yours.
Yeah.
So it connected us. And I think that connection of getting people where they need to be, or with who they need to be, it's such a powerful gift. And it goes back to preparing for this upcoming speech. So many connections or events, positive things that happened in my life were because people were connecting me, helping me, giving me encouragement.
Yeah.
And at that point, because I was always I was quiet, I was shy, introverted. I was taught that children should be seen and not heard.
Yeah.
So I always learned to just be quiet and kind of just do good, get good grades, do what you're told. But when I realized that there could be a different way, there could be a better way, and I started asking for help. So I accepted help that came my way. But then when I actually was even more proactive in asking for help, that's when everything really started to unfold in a really miraculous way.
Yeah. I talk about that a lot, especially in the world of entrepreneurship with women, how important it is to start building a community around yourself.
We are all about community. And that's that thing. I want people to feel safe.
Yeah.
Hey, I don't know what to do, or, oh my gosh, I just paid off my house, or I started a scholarship fund, or, I'm driving my first car that I paid for in cash. We want to hear those things. Or this woman that we talked to earlier this winter, she's taking her grandkids on a Mediterranean cruise this summer for 2 weeks. They're going to be gone. That's those children are going to have that memory forever. She has the wonderful memory herself, but it's going to change lives that couldn't have happened had it not come to the point where she could afford it, have the initiative, have the confidence that she could take them to Europe on a cruise.
Yeah. Wow, that's so cool. That's got to be so nice to be able to, because those are big wins that you're getting to, acknowledge with people. That's just got to be so fun.
It's awesome. My favorite thing is when we're sitting here in the office or on Zoom, whatever, and it's the simple things where they say thank you because they now have realized how their life is different in a good way versus where they were at.
Yes.
And that that'll make me cry.
Yes.
Tuned into it.
Yeah. And it's kind of like what you're saying, the security and the freedom that comes with figuring all that out.
Yeah. There was a time in my life where I had to be moved out of a living situation. A lot of the women I interviewed for my book have been in positions where they were trapped financially, otherwise. And now what it's done is it's opened up doors for giving back. And they realize that the help somebody dropped off a set of dishes to me one time because I had no dishes and I had no car, I had nothing. And other women are getting on boards and volunteering and making an impact at that level with their time and now expertise, their money. It doesn't have to, when it comes to generosity, it doesn't have to be that you create a $1 million foundation and your name's on a building in some city or university.
Yeah.
And it can be the quiet, I give away all the proceeds from my book. I give my proceeds to nonprofits that serve women, and I'm happy to share that. And I'm not doing that because that's the only thing I'm doing. I also believe in giving quietly to causes that are near and dear to your heart, and you don't have to have the fanfare. But I think when we're aligned with each other in our mission to do good, to make an impact, to support each other, to come around each other as sisters, that people get on board for it. I had so many people want to help me with the book by just giving 30 minutes of their time to be interviewed about their thoughts around money.
Yeah.
And when they knew that I was mission-based and that I was giving away the proceeds, it created even more positive input, energy, response, connections. Other women that I didn't know would introduce me to other people that I didn't know, so we could continue the momentum.
Yeah. Absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
Absolutely beautiful.
And, coaching, thinking of the idea of coaching, I think, sometimes we feel maybe like there's seasons. For me, I go through seasons. Like I need to work on this project or this mindset issue or whatever it is that I want to do at the time. And then I always say, okay, I need to take a little time. I need to marinate on that. But I'm just, now I'm really refining and applying what I've learned. But I think it's important when you find those teachers, mentors, coaches, connectors that can help course correct, because we all get off course. There's a story about the airplane. I forget the statistic, but it's like a small fraction of the time is the airplane actually on course.
Yeah, 10%. Only 10% is it driving towards its actual destination.
Yes. So how do we get there? Well, there's course corrections, and that's what we need to be doing, I think, in our lives. And being willing to pivot and owning it for ourselves, knowing that we're congruent with it, not anybody else's opinion of what we should be doing.
Yeah, definitely. I want you to talk a little bit about comfort zones, because I think this is kind of, we have a ton of people watching live right now, by the way. Thank you so much for being here and hanging out with us. If you are watching us on the replay, if you could hashtag replay wherever you're at so we can send you some love. But I really do think, speaking of all the stuff that we're speaking on, amazing information just in general, and really stuff to think about and ponder about. However, I feel like once they're done watching, right? No offense to anybody watching, but it's so easy just to float back into your life.
Yep.
And back into the same old, same old. We get set in a comfort zone or a cycle of, and we have every intention of pivoting, of making changes, but we don't. So, I'd love to hear your thought process on taking on different opportunities, pivoting certain parts of our life in order to become more financially independent.
Yeah. Yes. So this is neat. I like this because it all dovetails in together, really. Okay, a quick snippet. I was at a conference and there was a videographer in the back, and I was walking by and I'm an introvert, so I kind of like don't want to make eye contact because I just want to get out of there and maybe go to the bathroom, get a coffee or something. And the videographer said, "Hey, do you want to do a testimonial? Do you want to do a little quick interview?" I'm like, no. And my girlfriend elbows me. She's like, "Get over there and do that." I'm like, "I don't know what to say. I don't know. I'm not comfortable, blah, blah, blah." So I did it anyway. It was horrible. But what he said at the end is always take advantage of opportunities to be on camera.
Wow. I love it. Agree.
It was great. And so now, I've had opportunities to be on Fox News, ABC, tons of podcasts like this. It was a stepping stone. It was totally out of my comfort zone. And thank goodness my girlfriend elbowed me over there. But, there's been other times in my life, professionally, otherwise, getting outside of my comfort zone. One of my coaches, she recommended that there's two things that were really good. So she recommended that I survey my top clients and ask them how I'm going to use what I heard in my brain. I heard her say, survey them and see how you could do even better for them. Like what else they want that's missing. That's what I was hearing. She goes, "Melissa, just ask them how you could add even more value." More value. So I sent out 10 emails. All of them came back. They were happy. One person wanted more investment research. That was it. It was super easy. But I was like going, "Oh, I can't do that. I'm going to freak out. What if they tell me something bad? They don't, I couldn't let myself stand in the way because she was holding me accountable."
Yeah.
And then another place where so this is important. Like I think that if you're meeting resistance, if you find yourself resisting something that keeps coming up repeatedly, it's worth asking why. And if you were to do that thing that you've been resisting, what's the best that could happen? Because we always say, "Oh, what's the worst that could happen?" Well, let's flip that. Let's go rogue. Let's say, what's the best that could happen? And the other thing that she had been encouraging me to do was to use an online calendar. Oh my goodness. It has changed my life. I am not chasing down the back and forth of scheduling. It is so easy. And then if somebody has to reschedule, they click on the reschedule link and they just do it. So it's been a huge time saver. But then what it's also been able to do is lead to opportunities with people I didn't know, maybe through social media or something like that. And it was because I released control. I didn't really understand the technology. And so I was afraid I would end up being too busy. I was afraid I would double book myself. I was afraid. So I had all these fears. I took the chance. I got outside my comfort zone. And I've been using an online calendar now probably about 5 years. And it saves so much time.
Yeah.
And I actually, this last week, who scheduled an appointment. I didn't know her at all. And she said, "Thank you for asking these questions. Now I know we don't have to spend time talking about these things. We can get to other details."
Yeah.
I never thought of it as a service.
Yeah.
She received it as a service.
Yeah.
So get outside of your comfort zone is hard to do. But when you do it, if you're doing it, and always for the right reasons.
Yeah. Yeah. Always be willing to learn something different, for sure. This has been great. Tell us a little bit about your book.
Well, ebook. We had something really exciting happen this year. I was resisting. So the book, we pre-sold this in 2020. The ebook came out about a year later. A month after that, the print version came out. And when I say think about opportunity, like look for gaps, listen to your people, listen to your audience. I kept getting asked, when are you doing an audiobook? Time and time again. And Holly, my coworker, she told me her mom works for Amazon and said, Melissa should do an audiobook. And I'm like, oh, well, if she said that, then I really need to do it. And everybody else who was saying this, do this. So we finally did it. I got in a studio this winter or the spring and recorded the audio version. It's up. It was so easy to do. The thing that I had been resisting was with the regard to the book, it was the easiest thing to do.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So it's a book that you can, it's light. I'm not talking about financial strategies, anything quantitative, no statistics like that, but it's a book that can be read as entertainment. It's a book that, because we put white space in there to journal and to write, that you can reflect. It's a book that you can come back to down the road as a reference. And it's a book that allows you to spread goodness. When you buy it, the proceeds go to nonprofits that benefit women. And you can give it to somebody who might benefit from it. And they might pass it on. The book, and I encourage everybody, I think everyone has a story inside of them. And the story inside of you, you may or may not ever tell it, but a book project, it will grow you and it will things that you didn't even know you could have going on. There's so much value inside of there. There's a pre-workbook, which we turned into a class, an 8-week class.
Wow.
And brought together women across the country that are learning and meeting each other, connecting and learning the foundational skills so that when they encounter wealth at that point, they're going to have a foundation that they can manage with wisdom that they didn't have before, and get in tune to decisions financial decisions that are rooted in what your true core values are and what you want for yourself and those around you.
Yeah.
It was a labor of love.
Yes.
But to like make millions off of the book. I know, like, when you do things that you love, the money will come.
Yeah.
But I want to change millions of women's lives.
Yeah. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. So I feel as if the audience listening has an idea of what you do, but can you tell us exactly what you do? Who should be reaching out to you? Who specifically do you help?
Sure. Traditionally, typically we serve single female women. Single female women. That was crazy. Oops, now I'm getting all nervous here. We serve women. We have male clients too, but we serve people on the financial planning side. So that's the traditional side of the business, where you want to know if you're on track for your future, if you're making mistakes with your money, if your investments are lined up the right way to meet your goals, or if they're too risky, if they're not aggressive enough. We really position ourselves in that regard as a financial director. So kind of like a quarterback on the football team. And we don't start by just dealing with getting your money invested. We want to look at the big picture to make sure that we're not overlooking gaps that could be significant risks. So we use full service financial planning. We can implement investments and insurance, make connections to professionals outside of our scope of expertise. The way that we like to work is starting with the financial plans, kind of like having a workup at the doctor before you go in for a surgery. Nobody just wants to go in and get the surgery. There should be some prep work that goes into it. And so that's what we do. We can do investing. We can do certain types of insurance. And not to be woo-woo, but we really create, with the financial planning tools that we use, we can create a crystal ball. So you can look at your finances in the future and understand, because we can model. So this is where the quantitative side that I adhere to, where that comes into play, because we can take the numbers, we can change numbers and dates and show you how different decisions that you might make could affect your outcome down the road. And then see them side by side. It's beautiful, because you might know, okay, I'm not going to die at 100 with this much money. If I make this decision, it's going to be something less than that. But it's because it's my quality of life, and this is what I want to do, and it'll make me feel good. And then on the other side, the speaking and the book and the courses, that's another way that we're building a foundation in order to be prepared. Because you think about the typical person who wins the lottery is bankrupt within 5 years.
I've heard that.
And there's going to be it's already starting. There's a huge transfer of wealth as the baby boomer generation ages and passes away and transfers their wealth. If there's not a foundation, that money is going to be frittered away. If there's not a plan in place, if people aren't prepared to know how they want to manage it, what they want their outcomes are for the future, what their possibilities could be. And this is really important too. When there's a huge transfer of wealth, everybody has their hand out. Being able to say no and knowing your boundaries is really important. Yeah. But if you have exercised your voice for yourself personally, it's going to be a real big challenge to exercise your power of no when up in front of you.
Absolutely.
So we serve people wherever they're at.
That's awesome. Where can people find you? Those that are hanging out, listening, they're wanting to meet you, greet you. Where do you hang out on social media, your websites?
Sure. So for all of you who are looking for a way and a team to help you design your ideal lifestyle, you can head over to our website, which is melissamyersgroup.com. Myers is Myers. So melissamyersgroup.com. And we are on the socials. We're on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Instagram at Ask Melissa Myers. Again, Myers. And Ask Melissa Myers or Melissa Myers Group. You Google some of that, we'll start to pop up in the feed.
Is that Insta or Facebook? What is that?
So the Ask Melissa Myers is LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook. And our website is melissamyersgroup.com.
Is that right? Ask Melissa Myers?
Yes, you got it.
So that's Facebook, Insta, and LinkedIn if you want to link up with Melissa and check her out on social. Melissa, as we're closing up, why do you do what you do?
I love people finding out that there's a better way. I love helping people get what they want. And it's where I'm personally rewarded, is knowing that I made a positive impact in other people's lives. And okay, so like my mom used to tell me, like, you can find the problem in anything. I've learned to accept that statement, but make it a positive. So I can look at somebody's financials. I can look at somebody's financial behaviors. Let's just call it that. When we used to have a checkbook register, I would call it checkbook forensics. But now it's the whole picture. I call it the ability to help make a difference in somebody's life. I can see where the gaps are. I can find ways to make improvements. And sometimes it's financially, sometimes it's mindset.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this has been fantastic. I so appreciate you being here. If you resonated with Melissa and all the goodness that she shared today, make sure to connect with her on her website, melissamyersgroup.com. Her social media on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Insta is Ask Melissa Myers. We love to connect people here on this platform in order to make sure we all continue to rise. Melissa, closing thoughts as we wrap up.
My closing thought is going to be encouragement. And the encouragement that I'd like to give you is to know yourself and go rogue.
Yes, girl. Let's do it. Great closing thoughts. That brings us to an end of another incredible episode of Her Talk Show. I want to extend my heartfelt gratitude to our amazing guest speaker, Ms. Melissa Myers, for sharing her wisdom and inspiring us all. To each and every one of you, our dedicated listeners, thank you for staying with us until the very end. Your support and engagement means the world to us. Remember to follow, like, and share, and join us in our next episode. Once again, I am your host, Sabrina Victoria. I invite you to join our amazing community, Her Nation, where we continue to have conversations like this that uplift and inspire us on our